this video we're going to take a look at the basic mechanics of your straight rear hand, or you can also use it as a cross counter. It's close to the same mechanics, but we'll look at the details. So your basic, I'm going to call it a straight rear because some of you out there might be southpaws. Usually it's presented as a straight right hand, but the straight shot with your rear hand is one of your main weapons. It's really, really important. Your jab usually isn't strong enough to knock people out, and that's not the ideal mindset about a jab. You want to kind of just flick it out and set up your other punches off your jab. But your straight rear hand is going to have a lot more power, and that's what you want to use to like really hurt someone. So the jab kind of sets things up, and the straight rear closes the deal. So ideally, my mechanics are going to look something like this. I'm just going to show the motion and then I'll demonstrate the details in a second. So something like this. And from this side. So I'm doing a couple of things at the same time here. First off, I want to make sure that I'm not over-rotating my hips and pivoting excessively on my back foot here. So a lot of people have a tendency when they throw the straight rear to like pivot really far out like this. And they kind of keep the front leg stationary and they pivot the entire body over the front leg. I wouldn't say it's a wrong way of doing it, but it's not ideal if you want to throw a fast combination. In the end of a combination, if you want like the furthest possible range in your punch, it would be a nice way to do it. But the problem is, if I throw a rear hand like this, I'm kind of stuck on my front leg. It's going to take a long time before I get my weight back here, and I'm able to throw anything off of my front hand without losing balance. So ideally what I want to do is focus on my hips. My hips are kind of driving the punch all the way down from my legs and my hips here. So my back hip is moving forward and my front hip is going to move backwards at the same time. So I'm kind of creating this rotation in my stance without moving my weight forward. I don't want to move my weight too far forward because it's going to make me stationary and it's going to make it hard for me to use my left hand. So this rotation is really important. So a really good explanation I got from a UK martial artist, Steve Morris, is he told me, imagine that your rear foot is walking forward and your front foot is walking backwards. So when we're walking forward, we're rolling from the heel to the toes. When we're walking back, we're rolling from the toes to the heel. So that's kind of the feel you want to get in your stance here. My front foot is kind of rolling up like this. I don't want to go all the way up on my toes. I still want to have contact on the ground. And my front foot is kind of digging the heel in. So that simultaneously is going to create this kind of whipping motion that can transfer to your punch. Your arm doesn't really do that much. It's just going to come forward, and in the end it's going to twist over like this, bringing up the shoulder, focusing the power on the knuckles. So kind of like the jab, just come forward like this. Make sure your chin is covered by your shoulder here, and of course your left hand is up covering the other side of your face. So that's your basic straight rear hand. We can drill it much the same way we did with the jab, pushing against the wall. We can do the same thing, just kind of lining up in our position and pushing in exactly the same way, using the breath and kind of like pumping out these isometric reps. But what you really want to focus on with this punch is to get it back as fast as possible. A lot of people have a tendency to kind of overcommit when they throw it and just kind of leave it out there, so it turns into a push. You want to kind of snap it, imagine like a whipping motion. So when you're throwing it, you're kind of pulling it back as soon as it's extended, like that. So I'm kind of over-exaggerating a little bit, but my legs and my hips are whipping my punch and bringing it back to my stance like this. So this is your basic straight rear shot. You can also throw it as what's called a cross counter, which is usually thrown over the jabbing arm like this. So it's going to be basically the same mechanics, but I'm going to dip my head to the inside while I'm throwing the punch. So it's gonna make the punch come around in a curve. So I'm throwing kind of like the straight, but I'm just doing this instead. It's gonna make the punch travel a bit over the midline like this. You still want to pull it up, but it's gonna be more of a circular motion. Still, of course, you wanna make sure you don't overcommit and you wanna get it back to your fighting stance as soon as possible. But that's your basic cross counter. So some uses for this, we're gonna cover in other videos. But like just to mention quickly, off my jab, I'm usually gonna use the straight rear shot. If my opponent starts counter jabbing, then I can use the cross counter. So that's like the very basics of using this punch. Of course you can use it in a lot of different combinations, but that's some good ways to start experimenting with it. So I hope you found this useful. If you can use it, please take 2 seconds and press like on this video. If you know someone that might also find this useful, please share it with them so we can all get better at martial arts.
Hoo-yah!